Hello, friends. Thank you for tuning into the Odd Thoughts podcast. Welcome to episode 17. This is a podcast where we like to talk about the everyday odd thoughts, as well as have relatable conversations about whatever, and just discuss what comes to mind. So if that's your type of podcast, then appreciate you tuning in. For today's episode, for episode 17, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about an article that I had read, kind of something like I did last episode. I read an article that was talking about a woman that they referred to as a serial wedding crasher, and this woman was pretty serious. She was pretty serious about wedding crashing. And then I wanted to transition a little bit into talking a little bit about expensive gifts, buying them, receiving them, maybe some pressures that kind of come with that. And then I wanted to end it on talking a little bit about repeating bad habits. Kind of had the idea from the article, but that's a little more than a bad habit. But I know I have some bad habits that aren't great, so talking about repeating bad habits. If that's anything you want to listen to, like I said, I appreciate you stopping by. I appreciate you tuning in. Please enjoy. Um, how's everybody doing though? I hope everybody's doing okay. I know that I'm doing all right. I know that I often find I think that sometimes day to day I feel like I struggle with this strive to try to try to have some sort of like progression in my life, whether it be through mental health or any sort of like a job or any sort of side hustles or whatever, any sort of hobbies. I always kind of want the end goal to be right now. I think I often think about I kind of just want everything to be right in the present time. I just wish everything was kind of fast forwarded. But I know that it's just not that easy. I think sometimes the dread really comes from the idea that I wish I would have started stuff like yesterday type thing. I think I get so caught up in not being myself in things or not giving my 100% in whatever. And so I turn myself away and I turn myself away from progression. So sometimes I think I get so upset with myself and I kind of get that dread from wishing that I would have started yesterday or in the past at some time. But I know that I can't sit here and just think about yesterday all day. So as another day comes, I think about it's another day to try to make a progression, to progress in some sort of way. So that's what I try to view each day as. Try to take each day as another day to do something better, to make myself better, to progress in some sort of way, and just forget that yesterday happened. Try to think that even yesterday's problems are the problems that are going to fuel me today, are the kind of fire, the kindle for the fire, if you will. You know? But yeah, I appreciate everybody out there for just, making it every day. Taking those little small steps. It's pretty hard. And I think it's the little steps that we sometimes ignore. I know that I'm working on little steps. I know that I'm trying my best and not only I'm working on my mental health every single day, but I'm trying to do my best to feel like I'm progressing in all facets of my life. And I struggle sometimes, especially when there's not a direct response or it's kind of one of those things more so where I don't see the progression right off the bat. Yeah, but I'm okay. Like I said, I hope everybody's doing okay. I'm doing okay. I recently just moved rooms in the house that I live in, and it's a bit of more space for me. And so now I got a kind of a new podcast recording setup. So I'm trying something out. I've got the podcast mic in the hand this time. I'm doing a little handheld talking. So I hope it doesn't come out too loud. I'm trying my best to like I just project pretty loud naturally, so I'm trying my best. And I was like testing it and I realized that if I hold it too far away, then then I kind of just disappear from the mic. Then you can't hear me. Yeah, but last night it was like the first night in the room, I mean, it's not like it's a new room completely to me. It was my dad's room. We just like switched rooms, and so it's more space. And I've always liked this room. It's more cool in here, as in like the temperature wise. So it was nice last night, kind of sleeping not having to think about like taking all my blankets off and having a fan directly in my face. I use the fan more so for that sound, I guess, like that white noise, but it's nice to have that breeze. But yeah, I'm hoping that the new room is also kind of a step in a kind of a with a little more privacy. I feel like I can maybe try to like freely do the podcasting and kind of freely do other things without maybe stepping on people's toes. Which I was more so maybe my self perception that I felt like I was like stepping on people's boundaries or whatever with my stuff. So, but this gives me a little bit of opportunity to like just go in and just do a podcast every day and just do whatever and do more and hopefully record more of whatever else I want to do. But this is a podcast and that's what we're sticking to. So yeah, so today's episode, it's so funny. I find these articles all the time, thinking I try to read a little bit, not only on social media, but when I pull up my laptop, and a lot of stuff are it's very serious, and I kind of hope to build up a little courage to maybe talk about some more real world kind of scenarios and just talk about kind of some of those things. Just try not to get too like political with things and just try to but like stuff that's very relevant. You know, that's what I'm always trying to do is just trying to speak on very relevant things, trying to. But some articles are pretty funny. I thought the last episode, the that classy versus trashy kind of article that I read was a good article. This one is another gem. I felt like I read it on what was it? Here, I'm gonna flip my page. Hold on, sorry. If you heard that, I'm sorry. I've read it on Insider. Insider, they got some good like articles, and I think they talk about some pretty interesting topics. You know, relative most of the time. And so, I thought it was funny. I never heard the term serial wedding crasher before. The article was written by a woman named Lauren Edmonds, and the article was talking about this lady named Sarah Lynn Henson, and she was arrested on September 30th at a wedding in Mississippi for she stole $200 and stole a piece of cake, and she got charged with it said larceny, which is just like a small like robbery charge or whatever, and then disturbing the peace, which I thought was funny, and then trespassing, very obviously. But she was found out by the newlyweds, the bride's sister. The newlyweds' names were Lexi and Brady, I think. Yeah, Lexi and Brady. And the Lexi's sister's name is Sandra, and she saw Miss Sarah in the bridal room, just, just hanging out, eating a piece of cake, apparently, like just like out of like a freaking movie. And so the family was obviously pretty pissed. You know, nobody. Sorry for my language. People didn't know her and were very upset that she was there, and so immediately like just hopped on her, like jumped on her. And after some questioning and a little investigation into like just seeing like what happened, the obviously the stolen money, and they kind of she got arrested and she got into the police station. They questioned her further and found out more about her. Apparently, she's been arrested a couple times on this serial wedding crashing thing that she likes. She's had a couple like from what I read, it was like some of them are small, but in like 2021 in Mississippi, which is where the wedding was that she recently got caught at. There's a wedding in 2021 where she stole like over $1,000 worth of stuff. That's that's crazy to get away with. And it was like with money and like cards and stuff like that. Just that it's a weird. I just don't know the psyche of people like that. I don't know if they really just have this detachment towards like people's like affection or something like that towards, especially in a moment like that. Very obviously those gifts are for the newlyweds, right? Why would you take advantage of a wedding like that? I know some people don't really give a crap about weddings or whatever, but Jesus. I mean, stealing a piece of cake, like okay, so you pop in and have a piece of cake, you weirdo. Yeah, I guess. But then you decide to go a little further and you steal things. You actually steal from the guest or and steal from the newlyweds. So this lady was brazen. And apparently from that 2021 incident, she got parole. She got put on probation, sorry. And it was 5 years. And she got charged with grand larceny on that one. Some real burglary, robbery stuff. So I thought that was crazy. I just couldn't believe that. And to think that like you do it, maybe you get away with it once, okay, so that's everybody likes to live a little dangerously or whatever. That's stupidly dangerous, but okay, you get away with it once, okay? So we do the one time, but then you get caught. A couple years after that, the first time I think she got caught was like 2019. So she might have done it like that's crazy to think about. Maybe she's like crashed hundreds of weddings. She's the piece of legends. People used to talk about her back in the 1800s. This lady that would come and eat people's cakes at weddings. That's crazy. So but you get caught, and they say, "Oh, here's a little slap on the wrist," and then that second time in the 2021 when she got caught, dang, you know. But that would be like, at least for me, the first time I'd have been like, "Okay, I got caught. I'm done." I don't know. I wouldn't have been in that situation in the first place. I'm not going to someone's wedding uninvited, first of all, and I'm definitely not stealing something from someone's wedding. I'm not ballsy like that. So that's crazy. So she gets caught, and then she thinks she's gonna do it again. Maybe a couple years, pass. So she's like, it's standard, statute of limitation or whatever. Yeah, that's just dumb. Yeah, but that'd be scary too. Just getting cornered by the family, and everybody's ready to they're all having a good time, but they're all a little drunk, maybe a little tipsy or whatever. So they're definitely willing to get it on. And she seemed like she didn't really have much remorse from it. Her mugshot too is like she was like 50 years old or whatever. So she could have been doing this for a while. And you don't know like necessarily her reasoning. You don't know if she's just a piece of shit. Sorry for my language. I think I kind of go with that a little bit. you know, if you're a kleptomaniac and you steal from stores, then you could talk about that. That's another thing. But you're like showing up at people's weddings uninvited and doing that. That's a whole nother like sadisticness. That's like raining on the parade hard. So just I don't think I've ever met anybody that has ever crashed a wedding. Even like like watching Wedding Crashers, I was a little young, but even thinking about that movie, it's really thinking about like how often does that happen? Now maybe like celebrity weddings, right? I feel like I hear about that every once in a while. Is I hear about like celebrities getting random strangers coming through, not just like paparazzi, but like actual like random strangers. Hey, some people just don't miss a party. You can't blame people for just wanting to party, just wanting to hang out. Maybe she just wanted to. She loved. Maybe this woman Sarah. Sarah Lynn Henson. Yeah, Sarah Lynn Henson. Maybe she just loves love. You know, maybe she's just so into weddings and she just loves people getting married that she just wanted to be involved. And hey, take a piece of cake. Why not? You know, may the wedding was so terrible she had to take $200. Sorry, that's stupid. I don't know. I can't. Like I said, so people. Not everybody's great. Literally, not everybody is like the perfect person. Obviously, some people got their vices, but I think most people are pretty tamed compared to that. I don't go suggest. I mean, stealing's not good, so I wouldn't suggest doing stealing in any capacity, even from like a friend that you're gonna like a piece of clothing that you're gonna give back. But that's just a weirdo thing. There's also to think that you spend your free time going to like weddings, and how do you know that? How do you know where the weddings are? How do you? She just like is like that in tuned. I should have looked it up a little further to see if she worked for a bridal registration type thing or like that type of a city planning thing or whatever. Freaking weirdo. But you can't. Some people just have these innate actions that they do. I kind of feel like that some people they don't maybe even realize that they're doing something bad. Now she got caught, but she literally might not think that she's doing something bad. So it kind of makes you think about like the general people's bad behaviors or their bad habits. And when people repeat those kind of things, I think I know in my own personal case, I have my bad habits, and I think I have and they're repeatable habits. That's a reason for habits. Habits are repeatable things. So often I think about which habits are really truly I have or truly people do have. Because like something's as I don't, it's even weird to say kind of as innocent as, smoking, like smoking cigarettes. It's a nasty habit and definitely not a good habit, but pretty tamed comparatively to a lot of things. Maybe your habits lie in relationships. Maybe you're just like have a bad habit of ruining relationships or cheating in relationships or ending up with people that are cheaters. Sorry, a little indigestion. But yeah, or even like things like with criminal activity, like this with the woman in the first art with the article, like she has this she goes to weddings and she steals. That's a kleptomaniac kind of thing. And that could be just this habit that she has got away with, and even when she's at the grocery store, she's sneaking apples or something. So it kind of makes you question. It's kind of feels like at sometimes that it is an involuntary thing. Especially like if you think over time, you do a certain habit enough times and you spend enough time repeating a certain behavior, it's probably going to ingrain into who you are or how you act. So that leads to that involuntariness. I don't know if you could hear my cat's meowing outside my door. Oh, I'm shutting her out. I got to do a podcast. Sorry, Till. Little Tilly, little fat piggy Till. I love her. But yeah, so sometimes people just I feel are just doing it and they don't even think about doing it. They light up a cigarette and just don't think about that they're actually lighting up a cigarette. It's kind of like a something that they do as just an action. Maybe an action to a response even. I think sometimes even it could be even deeper than that. Maybe if you grew up in especially in a certain household where you saw a certain behavior portrayed a lot, that you're gonna kind of pick up on that behavior. Or you see a certain habit that's kind of common amongst, your life, you probably maybe will pick up on that habit. And that leads to the involuntariness, not just in the involuntariness of action, but of how you take in things. So so ingrained, and that takes a long time to reverse. It's not like you can break those super ingrained habits overnight, especially if you're going through it kind of unacquainted in a way. You're not getting in trouble for things or it's not directly affecting certain parts of your life or whatever. And sometimes you don't even know what questions to kind of ask to kind of break those habits. And I don't want to put the blame on people for always having those kind of bad habits too. I feel like there are people probably out there that maybe do have a certain intention and they do kind of feed into the bad habits. I don't think I can deny that. I think some people kind of use it as an excuse even. You can do these bad behaviors or feed into bad habits and you can blame it on something. So it's hard to sit there and say that, hey, you shouldn't do this because da 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 da, or this is what's going to happen. Because often, sometimes habits are, especially when you repeat them a lot, they become harmful to you. Not just in like a smoking stance or, but like in bad relationships or cheating and stuff like that, or criminal activity. You a kleptomaniac, you're probably going to get caught eventually. So then that's a tough question too. You kind of sit there and you can maybe point your finger at someone who has a bad habit or they kind of repeat a certain habit or behavior, but then you may have that introspection of, well, maybe it's hurting them just as much. Then you kind of question whether people are actually right, like they're doing it and it hurts them that they don't even enjoy that. Not every habit or behavior that someone does is a positive thing, right? So we know that there's bad, and that there's negative. So that's inevitable, I think, and to know how to even how to even like organize your habits because it's even hard to say that you have one specific bad habit at times. Some people probably minimize that to kind of that extent where you kind of can keep your behaviors and your habits to an extent and or into a one lane, but I think it feels that most times it's complex. People have multiple habits, good or bad, big or small. So then you kind of get into that question of when you need to break a bad habit or you need to stop doing a certain behavior. How do you organize that, or certain behavior multiple? I think it's kind of maybe hard to list it, especially when maybe when if it's something that is still bad but it doesn't directly affect certain things in your life. If you're not always if you know that people don't are necessarily always around you, so you can kind of just do these weird things and you could kind of just get into your own behaviors. Then it's not affecting anybody else, but it is affecting you. So, and even more so that you always got to take care of yourself in the end. And you got to make sure that if you're going to break a habit or you're going to break a certain behavior, that you got to know it's for yourself first. And maybe indirectly that it does affect the outside life. You know, it affects the people that you love. You break a habit and that kind of gets people to open up to you a little bit. If you stop smoking or something like that, or you finally find a good relationship because you don't go out there cheating anymore, or you're not attracted to the same toxic people anymore. Or you can put a pause in your criminal record for a while and stop stealing or whatever. So it's even no matter if it's innate, right, where you don't even think about the habit, or if you do it on purpose, inevitably there are bad habits, bad behaviors. And if when it affects you negatively, you're going to have to break them. And the whole point of repeating bad habits is how ingrained it becomes. So I don't know how to necessarily always figure out an outline to break those. Maybe sometimes it's literally just like taking one habit and replacing it with another. Instead of smoking, maybe instead you go out and you take a walk outside or whatever. Maybe when you want to steal something, you want to take this from a store, maybe instead you buy it for someone else. I don't know. It's kind of you gotta like try to throw that behavior at the wall and try to separate as far away from it. But also the question lies within like the idea of one bad habit replacing another bad habit. Hmm. I don't drink anymore, but I started doing hard drugs or whatever it may be. I'm just using just whatever examples I guess come to mind. So it doesn't even, and again, then you get into the question of weighing each habit or whatever. What's big, what's small, what means more. Excuse me. So I'm not the one to say. I know that I struggle with a lot of bad behaviors and bad habits, and I sometimes just can't help it. I'm aware of a lot of them, that's for sure. I think that helps. I think being aware is kind of the start of realizing some things, and it's not the first step necessarily, and it's maybe the first step, I guess you can consider it, but I'm not necessarily taking any steps towards progression knowing I have these habits. I think that's part of a bigger question of even though you're aware of a problem, or you kind of have affirmed something in your life, that you still need to help it. It's not we shouldn't just be out here kind of affirming things and just saying, "Oh, it's because of this," or "Oh, I guess this is just how it is." I think we should actively be trying to help ourselves as much as possible. Help each other too, but sometimes that's hard. Not everybody's reach is that big. I sometimes feel pretty small in that way. I do for sure. And I feel a little hypocritical sometimes when I think about people coming to me with like, and they're like, "Oh, I need to stop doing this, and I need to stop doing that, and I need to stop doing whatever." I'm always empathetic to listening to that for sure, but then I feel a little hypocritical when I if I try to give advice on it. It's like tell someone to stop doing this when I'm doing it myself. It's but relating to someone's problems is can sometimes be helpful. I know sometimes that people need that a little bit. They need to hear that other people are going through it just like they're going through it. And I think that helps a lot of people in certain moments. like I said, at the end of the day, you're just gonna have to take it on yourself a little bit, and I struggle with that pretty heavily. I know that I'm gonna be kind of left to my own devices most of the time. Gonna be kind of left to my own thoughts most of the time. So I gotta do my best to try to work and try to be better and know that I have to take responsibility too. That's kind of a thing, is taking responsibility for those habits or behaviors, even when it's kind of involuntary, even when you don't mean to and you're not trying to hurt anybody. Taking responsibility for everything that you kind of do, and I think just even when it's not something that you're intentionally doing, you still got to take responsibility and sometimes know that work towards something better, or sometimes even saying you're sorry, even taking accountability in the good times. Don't feel like you need to be so secretive with your kindness always, or so, secretive with your happiness that people don't care about that kind of thing or aren't receptive to that type of thing or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Transition into the next topic, Gunther. Golly. So for the third dude. So for the third topic, I kind of wanted to talk. I'm trying to flow into all the topics, meaning something kind of together a little bit. But for the third topic, I started when I was reading the article. I started thinking about what would you take to collect $1,000 to steal $1,000 from a wedding. So I started thinking about, like, weddings are a place where usually the gifts are pretty expensive. It's a beautiful time, and most of the time, hopefully you only get married one time. So I understand this kind of idea of trying to make it kind of an extravaganza. You want to make sure that you show appreciation, not just by showing up for the couple and being at the wedding and mingling and crying happy tears and clapping and stuff like that, but you want to buy them something nice. And so I was kind of thinking about expensive gifts, but not necessarily just in the wedding sense, though, but in the sense of everything. I find a lot of pressure when I want to buy a gift for someone, of like, how much do I spend on it? I could spend something a little like less and I can kind of keep it more personal, right? Or sometimes it's really more so the thought that counts, right? Like it's just the act of buying a gift. But man, there's tons of times that I think I like think about, well, maybe I should pull out a little bit more money, go a little bit bigger, get them something nicer. Even though expensive doesn't necessarily always mean like nice. It doesn't always mean nicer. So, but I do struggle sometimes with thinking about, trying to buy something expensive for someone, or maybe a pressure to do that. But I know that when I receive an expensive gift, I'm very thankful. It's almost kind of like an opposite pressure in that way when I receive a gift, that I have to like enjoy it. Inevitably, I'm going to enjoy a gift that I get from, if anybody, gives me a gift, I'm going to enjoy it. I'm going to do my best to appreciate it and show that I appreciate it. But when I get an expensive gift, it definitely makes me feel like that I have to like really, really express it and really show that I do enjoy it. Buy me a really nice piece of clothing. I gotta wear it a bunch. I know that, like, when I buy like a new video game, they're not super expensive. They're a little expensive, but I try to play the absolute crud out of it. I think that's more so what I try to do with anything I buy, but gifts especially. I just want to get the most out of it. And I kind of think that I have that view too when I buy people stuff. I want to try to buy something for whoever it is that they can use every day, or as often as possible. So practical, I think, is something I kind of go towards when it comes to getting gifts. And maybe when it comes more expensive, I feel like sometimes practicality, unless it's like something that's for your everyday life, practical. But sometimes the cheaper things are so practical. Especially at a wedding, I feel like you might buy something for the household, like if they move in eventually, right? A couple's gift, something that they share. So practical sometimes doesn't fit in a wedding sense, but unless it's like a household item, buy them. Oh, hey, I bought you guys a silverware set. But but at least I would think at least in my head I would justify it and say like, oh, they were, thinking about, trying to help us with our house or whatever. And if I received that type of gift, not even at just like a wedding, but if I was at a birthday and someone bought me silverware, I'd be like, "Oh, cool. I could definitely use these. I need a new silverware." So, I try to think about even its meaningfulness. I try to have a meaning behind gifts. Sometimes I just think like, "Oh, this is kind of cool," or "I know this person would enjoy this," but I try to have some meaning behind it. I know that if gelling out more money and spending more money on gifts isn't going to equate more meaning. It's not going to mean that it's not going to say that I care so much that look how this expensive gift I bought you. I care so much. This means so much to you, doesn't it? Not at all. That's not how I look. Because once like you buy that gift, it's kind of out of your hands too, right? That's something that I'm so big on that if I give someone something, it's out of my hands. And I hope they enjoy it and I hope they use it and I hope they, can get as much out of the gift that I give them or whatever. But it's I know that it's out of my hands. So if I give someone like a new piece of clothing like a shirt or something like that and they were to like burn it right in front of me, that's unfortunate. That doesn't feel great, but it's really like not my place to say kind of. I chose to give it up. I literally chose to say, "Hey, here's a gift for you." And so that's their prerogative to treat it how they want. Which I think probably maybe even swayed me away from getting something super expensive too at times. Not even in the purpose of like how someone will handle my gift, but it's like an accident. I feel so bad if I bought like a really nice well, I wouldn't feel bad, but you buy a nice couch for someone and you want them to enjoy it and stuff like that. But let's say it gets damaged somehow, a house fire, which would be even more devastating than just the little freaking couch that I got. But then I feel bad. I'd be like, oh, man, I tried getting something nice and it just didn't work out. I feel so bad, and so I try to think that obviously spending more doesn't mean that I mean more, and really trying to take that separation away from buying people things. Yeah, I've come to even like thinking like, here, I'll give you $20 or something like that. You could take that $20 and rip it right in front of my face, and that might hurt a little bit. But I also chose already to give away that $20, so it was gonna be spent somehow. So yeah, and I don't think there should ever be a pressure to try to buy expensive gifts for people. I think that's kind of the moniker, maybe a little bit behind weddings or something like that, is that we got to get them something nice, something expensive. But nice could just be something meaningful. Especially like thinking if you maybe made your own gift and you kind of put something together, that's priceless. That's at the end of the day. That's expensive in the way of, wholeheartedness and love and appreciation. But yeah, I know that I don't mind an expensive gift every once in a while. I love giving people expensive stuff too. Everybody deserves, I think, a little bit of an expensive treat. Knowing what the finer things in life feel like. But I don't walk around, especially in birthdays. You have a birthday every year, right? So I know that I'm not expecting anything expensive. Hey, slip me a $20 bill, or hey, I'll buy you drinks at the bar or something like that. Pretty straight. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good on that. Even Christmas, comes around once a year, but as I get a little older, I find that I really just want clothes, kind of, and like socks. I wear holes in my socks a lot because I walk weird a little bit, and like underwear. I feel like I could always use a fresh pair of underwear. But as a kid, I complained about that stuff. As a kid, I complained about not getting expensive gifts or something like that. I wasn't a bratty kid, but you want some finer things in life. You do. Most of the fine things I wanted were like new video games, though. I never really were like, I never really took to oh, I want like the brand new toy. Like, I need this toy or something like that. I was never really like that. But video games get expensive, so. And you want to, like I said, everybody wants a little bit of a taste of that, the more expensive stuff, the little finer things like that. But yeah, yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. You know what I'm saying, friends? I really appreciate you guys coming by and listening to the podcast. I appreciate the opportunity to come on the microphone and talk to you guys. I really do. Thank you for listening. This episode will be up on YouTube and Spotify podcast for y'all to enjoy. If you found it relatable or you found anything I ever say enjoyable, I appreciate you if you subscribe or subscribe or like one of my videos or to my channel in general. And if you want to follow me on all my other social medias, I'm on Facebook at Gunther Getlicker, which is my name, and both those G's are uppercase. I also have an Instagram that goes by Gunther underscore Getlicker. Both those G's are lowercase. And then I also have a Twitter, which is at OneMikeGG. Both those G's are uppercase. And if I'd appreciate a follow, and it'll help you stay tuned on future content, and it'll help me with my podcast moving forward. But I appreciate everybody. I really do appreciate you guys stopping by, and I hope y'all show up for yourself every single day. And I love y'all, and remember, most importantly, be excellent to each other.